Good evening and welcome to the 23rd Annual Garden State Film Festival Filmmaker Interviews. My name is Mike Cassidy. I will be your host today, and I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing the folks behind Grief, Julia Alexander, writer, animated director, James Kedley, director, writer, and Hayden Allentop as the actor. Guys, thanks for spending some time
Thank
with
you
me.
for having us.
Of course.
If you wanted to go around and introduce yourself, I know I just said what you were for the film, but just what you were part of.
All right. I'll go first. My name is Julia. I was a main animator for Grief. Helped with directing just a tiny bit, and also one of the writers.
Hello, I am James. I was the director of photography, so getting the actual camera shots, as well as writing and post-production.
Hello, I'm Hayden. I was the actor. I did the acting, and I also helped come up with ideas.
Wonderful, thanks. So let's get right to it. Grief, what inspired you guys to make this film?
Ooh, what was it?
So
Anybody?
I had come up with the idea of wanting to do a stop motion animation because that was the original prompt for a ghost, and to make it drawn animated. And I wasn't sure exactly how to come up and expand that idea, but James had come in with his, I want to do the 5 stages of grief. I'm like, well, this is so perfect. We can just put these two ideas together. And while it is a very basic idea and something that people will talk about a lot, it's something that's really important to talk about.
Going off of that,
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
with the ghost thing, we were like planning on implementing an entire like ghost that was following the main character as it was going through, like you saw in the poster. The ghost was supposed to like pop out, follow, be like another like plot mover. But like through production, we ended up not having enough time to add that whole thing because the rotoscoping already took like 300 hours in of itself to finish. So we stuck with the main character.
Great. So what made you want to do the 5 stages of grief, James?
So I'm very interested. I like the abstract ideas of there's like the systematic kind of following of 5 stages of grief, but for every individual, it's gone through at different speeds, different phases. Like in the film, we are stuck with denial for a very long time and then quickly rush through other ones. That's just how some people process through grief. How I've processed through grief, it's like everyone is kind of different. You can do 2 at the same time, like backwards, forwards, but on average, that is the 5 stages of grief, and it's just one character's way of exploring those 5.
Wow. Hayden, what was it like playing the main character in this
It was
film?
really fun. This was actually like my first time actually acting and being able to be part of the process, being able to play someone who's not myself. It was just a very interesting and different experience.
So before we keep going, I feel like we should also acknowledge that this was a high school film that you guys made. So if you go into a little detail, why did you submit it to the Garden State Film Festival?
I'd say as our teacher, Mr. Corey, he's fantastic. He treats the classroom like it's more of a production studio than a classroom, and wants to get us to churn films out, make them high quality, make them within his film constraints like an actual producer would, and then send them out to film festivals. He works with Garden State a lot. He works with the Basie film that Grief also got into. He works with a lot of different international as well film festivals, and we have to really thank Corey for putting out these films because we otherwise probably would never have even discovered this on our own.
Yes, and
That's awesome.
he also wanted us to make sure that this film specifically got out because of how much time and effort had actually been put into it.
300 hours of animation alone. That was all Julia and Alex. It was incredible.
Who sadly could not join us today.
Unfortunately.
So a question I had about your film was there was a lot of colors being represented. What made you choose each color for each stage of grief?
So I had a general idea of what each color had represented, but I had wanted to make sure to get this right. So I did a little bit of research, like just looking up and making sure, like to see what colors were more commonly associated with each emotion. And that's kind of how we got to those. And for like anger, the red is like a lot brighter, especially because like the grief was very, very heavy, and I wanted to try and get something to really like emulate that. And also, it really helps it pop against a very dull school background.
Great. James, Hayden, anything that you worked with the colors?
So Julie was director of animation, as I say. So she was in charge of all of the creative decisions for the animation aspect. So that's all Julia.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
Mhm.
So what was it like looking for a casting crew while you were in high school? Was it just people in a group that was already prearranged, or did you get to pick and choose?
So thankfully, it was all kind of prearranged. We work with our teacher Corey. He kind of puts the groups together. He sees like who works well. If we say, "Hey, this person's not doing so well," he'll get us to do it. But if we just clash, he will try to make trades and figure stuff out. And we had a fantastic group who came together, and we're all very passionate in making this film. So that's Corey to thank as well.
Yes.
You can definitely feel the passion in it. I noticed that from the gun, honestly. So if you could tell me a little bit, it's a powerful message. How do you want audiences to walk away from your film? What do you hope to get across to them?
I'd say Julie and I have different answers. Kind of. I'll start with mine.
Yeah.
You could say because mine is with grief. It is a journey. It's an adventure. It's never pretty. It's ugly, and for every single individual, it's different. We just want this film to show, hey, this is how one character went through it, and how you go through grief can be entirely different. That's okay, and hopefully, eventually, at the end, you will find that acceptance and walk away from their gravestone. Whoa, that was poetic.
Beautiful. Yeah, I was about to say.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I feel that I want the audience to walk away with like just a tiny bit of sadness and realization that it's okay to go through these stages because they are completely natural. And especially because our character is portrayed so young, like anyone could be going through any type of grief, and that it's okay to be feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Speaking of young, Hayden, what grade are you in high school?
I'm currently a sophomore.
That's incredible. That's so cool.
And when
that you
making
guys
this film, I was a freshman.
Yeah, he was a freshman when we.
Cool. Wow, that's awesome. So Hayden, do you have any plans to continue acting? Did you get the bug, or was it a one-time thing?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm currently in theater doing plays and musicals, and that's part of me pursuing acting. I'm not too sure where I want to go yet, but I'm figuring it out right now.
You got
Bug is
time.
growing. Bug is definitely growing.
Mhm. So, Julia, you're the animator of the film. What made you want to get into animation?
I was looking for a path to go for college because that was coming up as it was my senior year. And I've always loved like film and theater and movies. And I was like, all right, let's figure out what I want to do and what I can do. And I saw this opportunity to try and do animation, and I fell in love with it. I loved getting the different aspects, being able to convey all these different things with a drawing. And that's what kind of made me realize that like I wanted to do this. I wanted to continue to do this, and I wanted to continue to make art in the best way that I know how to.
It's beautiful. Thank you. So another question I had about your film. The first couple stages of denial, it's pretty sad music and everything, and then it goes depression, and it's turned up to 10. It's really quick and everything. Was that intentional, or was it just how you were selecting the music for the film?
So in post production, it was the whole kind of sequence. It was supposed to be that music was during anger, and it went away, and there was like a whole musical break with just a black screen going into the gravestone. But just through post production, it ended up where the video was moved over and switched, and just by alignment, the music stayed the same. Just by alignment, it just started up at depression. So it was a happy accident where the music lined up. As a message so far, it wasn't necessarily intentional. For it was supposed to be an anger. It would just be like a rising with the same melody that we're doing. It was Claire de Lune. It was just different. The style of it we wanted to have for anger, but it ended up with depression, and it worked out.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. So Julia and James, you are no longer in high school, correct? You're attending college now. Awesome. So where do you guys go, and what are you studying?
James, you can go first because I started talking about mine before.
All right. So I'm at Brookdale right now. I'm doing a lot of different classes. I'm taking a bunch of intro courses like education, engineering. I'm doing also intro to philosophy, which is a doozy of a class, but I'm also doing a lot of TV production and filmmaking. Right now, I am working for a documentary about a local game store that I go to. Shore Gamers, shout out them. Great store. But also, I'm the president of the Esports Production Club, where we do live productions every week. I'm going to actually be there right after this meeting. We're doing all that, but I'm also working with the executive board on a film festival film. It's very fun. It's like a Murphy's Law of the entire, like, of a live TV production going wrong, like 5 minutes out. Like every couple minutes, something else goes wrong and just makes it super chaotic, super fun. But it's due in just not a lot of time. So we're under a big time pressure to get that done. This is a lot.
Sounds very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Julia, what about you?
Right,
I know you started before.
Well, yes, but I'm currently going to Alfred State College in Alfred, New York. It is very much so the middle of nowhere, and I am currently studying animation. Well, more specifically, digital media and animation under the DGMA program here, and it's phenomenal. I'm currently just very barely starting out, so it's a lot of classes of like physical arts, a lot of figure and motion classes, a lot of perspective drawing, and then a very little bit of 3D. We are currently working on a project where we have to like build our own 3D room model in Maya. It's very interesting. It's very difficult, but it's so much fun. I'm really, really enjoying my time here, especially because I get to meet other people that are also like animators and artists, and it's very fun getting to see them make their own work too.
Awesome. My last question I have for you guys is, usually in these interviews, I get to ask these more seasoned filmmakers what they hope if they could say anything to them younger, what would it be to get into filmmaking? Like, what advice would you give the younger generation? With you guys, I want to ask, do you have any advice for the older generation who maybe lost the love of making movies and stuff, something that you felt that you want to remind them about?
I could say something. For everyone who's making a movie, I feel like you should put as much effort and care into it as, of course, but as well as put when you have a good idea, and you should get it into your film, or at least make the film, no matter what. Because if it's a good idea, it's a good idea, it's going to be good and people are going to like it. So if we had the ghost idea, I wish we could have gotten it in, because I feel like it would have added such another level of complexity. We had so much more stuff, as well as our other film, Delusion, which is also playing at the same day. There was like a whole nother layer. Yeah, the festival. Yeah, we have Delusion.
You guys have 2 movies in the festival. I only heard about this one.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome. I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was just, I didn't know.
Super fun. I would love to talk about that. It's there's the more that you can add to the film and the more care that you can show by like in the intricate details, the more the audience will love it, and the more that you individually will love it. So never forget that.
I have something to add too. Even if it is the silliest idea ever, if you have something that's really small, really stupid, always do it. Always try and put your best foot out there and do it, even if it's not super intricate and it's not super in depth, and it's something like a goofy, like Charlie Chaplin type film. Always try and do it, because you will always find that love and joy within that, and people like seeing what other people enjoy. So even if it's really small, really short, people will enjoy it.
Awesome. Hayden, any advice for people that want to get into acting and maybe study theater?
My advice is to not be nervous. I was nervous before I started acting, but then when I got into it, I realized it's just fun. Who cares what people think? So my advice would just be to go out there, make a name for yourself.
For sure.
That was awesome. On that note, I gotta say goodbye to you guys. I had an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Will any of you guys be joining us at the festival this year?
I might be.
I will be there.
Sadly not.
Maybe.
Mm.
Ooh.
Thank you so much
You
for
will be
having
missed,
us. Though.
Julia. No, of course. Yeah, it was great talking to you guys. I hope I can see most of you guys at the festival. So yeah, this is Grief. In a second, we're going to get popped up with your information. There we go. Grief. It is being shown Saturday, March 29th in Block AL3 from 9:30 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. Be on the lookout for this, everybody. I adored it, and it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you guys today.
Of course, thank you for having us.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Have a good night,
Good
guys.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks for waiting.